Ago, we had the absolute honor of being part of a mass choir under the direction of Jackie Hairston, Dr. Jackie Hairston, at Carnegie Hall, singing gospels around Valentine's Day, singing spirituals, black spirituals, classically arranged. I mean, like 16-part harmony and stuff. It was just extraordinary. We worked. We really worked to be able to pull that off and to be a part of this choir from around the country. And I was just blown away when she invited us to do Living Grace and actually flew Tammy Hall out to do the piano on Living Grace. And we did a little special thing where Valerie did the solo and a little spoken word piece that she had me write, and to be able to do that at Carnegie Hall as an intro to that song, I'm telling you, that's beyond bucket list. And and I'm not saying that from an ego standpoint. My topic today is everything is holy and the sacred. When we went on rehearsal and I stepped on the stage of Carnegie Hall, it was like nothing I'd ever felt before. And it's interesting because everybody else had the same feeling. It wasn't like nervous jitters. Yes? Those of you who were there? It wasn't nervous jitters. There was this kind of awe. There was this reverence. And I've been to a lot of temples and stuff, but I knew that I was standing on holy ground. That there was an intentionality. The energy of the consciousness that had graced that stage through the years. And there's no amplification. Can you believe that? There's no, the band, 300 voices, and there's no amplification. It is that acoustically superb. Okay? And in those moments, there's something that'll resonate in with me, and I'll get it. And that was just one of those moments of how everything is holy. Everything is sacred. And it's all a matter of degree in terms of our ability to experience it. It's all a matter of a degree and how much intentionality we bring into it. Everything is holy. Everything is sacred. We are interconnected. We are intertwined. So there's a lot of talk going on right now about gun control. Yes? I didn't think I was going to go here first, but hey. That wouldn't be me, huh? I remember one of my ex-partners used to say about me, heaven forbid there be an elephant in the room that Deborah doesn't go kick. So there's a lot of extra talk right now because of what happened in this last major shooting in San Bernardino, California, and I was raised in LA. So I had to get a little closer to home there. And I can understand the concerns that we have about is this terrorism, et cetera, et cetera. But what most of us don't realize is that we classify a mass shooting as 4 people or more. We have had a mass shooting not only every day of the year, but more than every day of the year in this country. more than every day. There were 2 that day. Sometimes there have been 5. Just check out a website, US Uncut, that actually does a whole graph of it, like day by day, and how many and where. This is unbelievable as a country. A mass shooting more than every day. Something's up. Okay? Something's up. There's a malady of the soul, as King would call it. There is a malady of the soul. There is something that is behind all of this. And I contend that one of the biggest things behind, and I'm going to talk about the weapons in a moment. You know, it's like supply and demand. But let me talk about the demand side first. That part of demand of this is we have forgotten that everything is sacred and holy. Where life itself has ceased to be holy. Where life itself has ceased to be sacred. Where the interconnectedness of life is not sacred. There aren't good people and bad people. They're only people. And it's the extent to which they know they are sacred and everybody else is sacred. That's all you see. There is no evil out there. There is no evil in the universe. The only place you find evil is what human beings do. You take out human beings, there's no evil. Evil does not exist in nature. It doesn't. Even when they are quote unquote killings, it's purposeful. I'm hungry. But they're not killing everybody. The lion's not killing everything in the jungle. Just there's purposeful. There's something that's happening here. Okay? And I contend we have to get back to that. Why am I saying that? It's because it is an evidence of spiritual amnesia. It is an evidence of spiritual amnesia. And we don't need to collude with the amnesia. If people have forgotten if they are spiritual beings, let us not forget that they are spiritual beings. Or else everybody's just walking around in ignorance. Okay? I'm not saying condone people. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that whatever that fear is that drives people to do things like that, if we fear the ones who are in fear, then that's just more fear. You fear the ones who are in fear, that's more fear. I am talking about a radical inclusion. I am talking about a radical inclusion of the heart. Where we can look at our brothers and sisters with the same kind of compassion that a shepherd has. I can think of this song we used to sing, safe were the 90 and 9 in the fold, but there was that one lost sheep. And how the shepherd went out to find that one lost sheep. See, marginalizing people and pushing them more to the end for punishment doesn't redeem anything. That's part of the fallacy of our prison system. This is nuts. Rehabilitation happens within the context of relationship. We started the year off with social justice programs about that. You don't rehabilitate people by putting them in isolation. Give them a dog. Give them a flower pot with flowers in it. Something to care for. Something to connect with. Do we have the courage to see everybody is sacred and holy? Think about it now. Think about the conversations that you've been having lately. About your family, about stuff in the news, about politicians. or those trying to be politicians by not being a politician. I'm just saying. It's a bunch of ego stuff. Fear. Fear. You know the root word of persona? From which we get personality? It's mask. It's mask. It used to happen in the early Greek plays. They would have masks on sticks. And as they put this mask in front of them, they were that, you knew them as that character. But then they take that one down and they put this other mask, and then they were this other character. These different personas, where they're different personalities. Okay? Everything is sacred. When we see people who are doing stuff that's way, way out there, they have forgotten who they are, we need to be here to remind them. You need to pray over people so much that they can't do anything else. If you think of it like this, think of it like a foster family. Okay? Where you've got kids that are coming in from all over the place. These quote-unquote at-risk kids. Okay? You're bringing them into the family. You already know they're acting out. But what do you do when they act out? Can you keep loving them and loving them and loving them? Because the love wears them down. This is the stuff of social justice work. This is the stuff of nonviolence work. There is nothing nonviolent about nonviolent social justice work. The only thing nonviolent about nonviolent social justice work is that the people doing the social justice are not violent. But there's nothing nonviolent about nonviolent social justice work. Okay? Except that the weapon of the ones who are putting forth the social justice is love. And their belief that love will wear you down. That's what we're talking about here. Gandhi called it a soul force. A soul force. And you know what's up underneath that soul force? Take a breath now. Forgiveness. Forgiveness does not erase anything. But what forgiveness does is it releases you from the ongoing karmic effects of it. What forgiveness does is it allows you to elevate, to transcend. It shifts your relationship to what has happened. Listen to what I'm saying now. You can say, well, is that fair? God says, I don't deal in fair. Now, I've had some interesting spirit letters about this. I says, I don't deal in fair. Don't even talk to me about fair. Because fair has to do with your consciousness about what you think. It says, I deal in justice. I deal in justice. I deal in redemption. I deal in rehabilitation. I deal in inclusion. That's what I deal with. Okay? So are you willing? I mean, I'm talking about the holidays here. Don't just nod. I'm talking about, you know, those people you've broken up with. I'm talking about your exes. I'm talking about your family. I'm talking about those brothers and sisters that you haven't spoken to forever. I'm talking about all the people at your job that make you nuts. I'm talking about the people that you're arguing with in the blogs. I'm talking, you know, can you still see them as holy? Because if you don't, King said it the best. He says, there is nothing that any man can do to make me stoop so low as to hate him. Because when I start to hate, I become as low as what I'm hating. Or Gandhi, there are plenty of things for which I am prepared to die for, but none for which I am prepared to kill. There's a consciousness that's here. And everything is holy. This earth is holy. And we have a tremendous amount of responsibility here as U.S. citizens to treat this world like we're holy. Okay? Now, we have recycle bins all over the place. We don't want to use styrofoams. We don't want plastic floating around in the ocean. There's all this stuff about renewable this and renewable that. Guess what? The United States, our tax dollars, for every dollar around the entire world that is spent on military operations, 45 cents is spent by us. We are 5% of the world's population and 45% of the world's military expenditures. We do these military weapons like cell phones. We just keep creating them and new ones and new ones and new ones. And what happens to those weapons? All around the world, these so-called terrorists, national and international, are using our weapons. Take a breath on this. Our weapons. This is not okay. If we really believe that everybody and everything is holy, then we need to start making a demand on the recycling of these weapons, just like if it was a bottle. We don't need to have these weapons running around in the hands of the public all over the place. No, we don't need to do it. Because it's using our precious resources to do unholy things. I don't care what you do. You can melt the stuff down. Like it says in Scripture, turn your swords into plowshares. We can talk all we want to about who gets to own what. But why are they out there to be owned in the first place? This is crazy. Yeah. The only industrialized country in the world like this weird, it's off the chart. It's off the chart. But now is not the time for us to live in fear. Now is the time for us to stand up and say, we want the kind of society that we know that we can have. Amen. Where every life is precious. Where you can go to the grocery store, you can go to the movies, you can go to a holiday party, you can pray in your church without being afraid that somebody's going to come there and shoot you up. We can do this. And we have enough. We have enough. Today starts the first day of Hanukkah. And the Hanukkah story is so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. It speaks of how people don't recognize the holy, how the temples were being destroyed. The Syrians and the Greeks are destroying the Jewish temples and absolutely defiling them, slaughtering pigs on the altar and all this kind of stuff. And they're rebuilding the temple. And they recognize, you know what? Let's not keep worrying about the rebuilding. Let's consecrate and dedicate what we have right now. Let's do it right now. Right now. But the people's like, we don't have enough. We don't have enough to dedicate. We only have a little bit of oil here. Well, let's just light that. Let's just light that. And that little bitty oil that nobody thought would last a night lasted 8. 8. But I want you to hear what I'm saying here, because I think we miss it. When we see the menorahs and we see all these candles, it makes it look like it's a lot of candles. In the story, it was not that all these extra candles got there. Catch what I'm saying? It wasn't like we started with 1 candle and then we had 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. The 1 candle lasted 8 days. Do you feel the difference in that? The one candle lasted 8 days. And what most of us are doing is this. Is that I've got this one thing, this little oil or whatever it is. I've got this little bit of money. I've got this little bit of health. I've got this much love. I've got this much forgiveness in me. And God, give me another one and 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 another one. Because I know I can't last here until you keep giving me another one. Bless what you have and watch it multiply. Start with what you have. Believe that what you have is enough. Believe that what you have is enough. Believe that no matter what anybody has done to desecrate you or your lives, it does not have the last word. And that includes you, baby. That includes you. That includes you. I really invite you, those of you who have the Sacred Yes, my first volume in the Letters from the Infinite series, the Spirit Letter downloads, in the letter See Through My Eyes. And it speaks of this so beautifully. It says, we often say, you reap what you sow. That's not what it says in Scripture. It says, as you sow, so shall you reap. Okay? All major traditions, all spiritual traditions have some kind of an idea of a karmic effect that has to do with process. That what goes around comes around. That the way you do things is the way you get it back. That you set things into motion and you need to watch what you set into motion and how you set it into motion. Because there's a rippling effect that goes on when that's happening. It says, it isn't that that you reap what you sow. It's as you sow, as you plant, so shall you reap. That's how you're going to gather. Catch me? Are you with me? And it made this beautiful distinction. This was my aha moment. When Spirit said, the seeds and therefore the harvest are mine. I'm fundamentally good. Because all of the seeds are mine, there is always the possibility of some good harvest coming out of it. Because the seeds are mine. So the sowing and the reaping, that's you. That's what you do with my seeds. But if you sow even my good seeds without a good intent, you'll never feel the good harvest. But there's always a good harvest. Since there's always something that's going to come out of these seeds, even if it is evidence of what should never be repeated again. Even if it's that. He said, you're not powerful enough to mess up your own life. You're not powerful enough to mess up anybody's life. That's your ego running amok. Because your ego likes to take credit for success. And when your ego can't take credit for success, it wants to take credit for your failure. It just likes to take credit. It says your ego is not in contradiction to your spirituality. It's in competition with it. Your ego's in competition with your spirituality. It thinks it's the engine, but it's the caboose. Catch this. We come to this tradition, and so often we are trying to use the spiritual tools to do the bidding of our egos. But it's the other way around. It's the other way around when you recognize that you and everything about you is sacred. My mentor, Michael Beckwith, used to teach us that behind every human aberration is a spiritual aspiration. behind every human aberration is a spiritual aspiration. Okay? That underneath it all, we all want the same thing. We want to be safe. We want to be happy. We want to be successful. We want to be sustained and sustainable. That's all what we want. But when we don't know that's who it is that we are, when we don't know our connection with the divine, then if I don't know that I am prosperity, then I think you have prosperity, and the way for me to get prosperous is to rip off your stereo and sell it. See? When we don't know we're sustainable, then I think the way to be sustainable is to go rip off your country. It's like that poster. What is our oil doing under your soil? We have to bring back the sanity. I'm saying we have to bring back the sanity. The news reports, they're prayer requests. They're prayer requests. Can we have the consciousness? See, not to worry about the sowing and the reaping, but to know that underneath it, it's always there. It's all God's seeds. And this example helped me. It just landed it for me. Spirit talked about human births. Said that every person is sacred. I don't care how they get here. Okay? That human being, even if they are the product of incest, if they are the product of rape, if they are the product of the most dire circumstances in how those seeds were sown, that person still has within them all of the dignity, all of the humanity, all of the power, and all of the creativity of the most holy union conceiving. And just like we saddle onto people this derogatory denigration, less than, because of the circumstances out of which they have come, that's what we do with everything. We're looking at how it got there and missing there's something underneath that's beautiful and powerful and that can transform everything. You know, I look at this nation. Sometimes I just have to pinch myself. Barack Obama's president? Twice? The dude's father is African. African. And his mom's this little nice Midwestern white woman. This was America's worst nightmare. The mongrelizing of the races. Oh my God. His father would have been lynched alive. When Barack Obama was born, his parents' marriage wouldn't have been recognized in at least 13 or 15 states. It wasn't legal for all the races to intermarry each other till 1967. And newsflash, the restrictions were on white people. That's the newsflash. Nobody wants to talk about that. But it was white people who were not allowed to marry outside of their race. And different states had different races that you could or could not marry. To keep the mongolization of the races. Because we didn't know that everything was sacred. Because we didn't know it. We didn't get it. But what counts for quote unquote race is less than 1/1000th of a percent of our DNA. which is why we can change body parts and blood and everything else, because it ain't about nothing. And it all counts for geography. Even now, to describe race, we have to talk about geography. God is smart. And it ain't all that deep. If it's hot, your skin needs a little bit more pigmentation. It ain't that deep. If it's hot, your hair needs to be a little curlier. It ain't that deep. You don't find Africans with hairy chest and hairy backs. They don't need it. If you're in Russia, you do. It ain't that deep. I mean, you know, it really isn't. God is smart. The universe is smart. And I guarantee you, if we have, it's a bold audacity. A bold audacity to really walk around in the world, say, everything is God's. Everything comes from this primal thing. We're just using it. We don't have our own anything. When we love, we are loving with the heart of God. When we speak, we're using the energy of God. The music. We don't have our own music. We don't have our own anything. It reminds me of that joke about the scientists that find the genome code, and they challenge God to a duel on who can make a human being the fastest. So they set the time, and they go out to this desert, this deserted place, and it's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, go. And the scientists go and they start scooping up some clay, and God goes, get your own dirt. Or those spirit letters that talk about how hung up we are on what we can see or touch or feel. And it just said, how dare you use the very things that I gave you to try to disprove me? It's like, how dare you? Can we rise above? Can we drink from those waters of living grace? Because I promise you, if you can remember, first off, that you are holy. Can you close your eyes and just, for a moment, say to yourself, I am holy? Can we say that out loud 3 times? I am holy. I am holy. I am holy. Say it again 3 times. I am holy. I am holy. I am holy. That'll revolutionize your life if you would do that just a few times throughout the day. Yes? Yes. Let's pray.